Hey, hello, welcome back to the Games, our Hari Raya Legacy, event. It's 24 players today. We stand a chance to win a bunch of store credit. There's also a raffle for a Jace coin, and overall pretty good value. And yeah, for those of you who are viewing from overseas, Hari Raya is a holiday, a religious holiday for the Muslim friends out there. So, happy Hari Raya to all of those of you who are watching and who celebrate. Yeah, we have round two. We saw Kaiser fresh off a top eight from Eternal Weekend in Yokohama, play against Kelvin Hun piloting Death Shadow, and Miracles unfortunately fell to Death Shadow 2-1, quite handily. And in round two, we have Conrad versus Chris, two guys who used to play a lot at this other place that I used to play at. And I know Chris is on lands because I watched him play the last bits of his round. I'm not sure what Conrad is on. If I had to say, just based on what I know of this guy and the way he plays, I think I'd say like Monorit Prison. So we'll see if my read is correct. Um, yeah, it's two decks that are not as popular in today's metagame because they were natural predators to Grixis Delver, and now they're not as prevalent. Well, not prevalent at all because of the banning of Diffract Shaman, right? And Bomac Courier does his best impersonation, but overall still quite weak compared to that. Oh no! And so Conrad is on the 12 post Eldrazi list, which is really really good. I think this is a decent matchup for him, right? Because he just goes over the top of what Chris is trying to do. The only complication could be Chris's mana denial strategies. So Conrad wins the die roll, leads off with Glimmer Pulse, which is a fair indication of what he's playing. So Chris can then make decisions based on that. Chris top decks a Rishon Port, so that's not that great. But you probably see him. He's got Mana Bond, 2 gambles, and a Punishing Fire at the back of his hand. So you're probably gonna see him gamble here for Life from the Loam, to just start his engine, so that he can eventually get to his wastelands. The only kind of confounding issue I think on Conrad's side of things is that Conrad can play Chalice, which he has in his hand, for 1, which will stop Chris from being able to play any 1 mana spells that he has. Or he could kind of slow roll it, bank it till he can play it for 2 to lock out both Life in the Loam and Punishing Fire. So interesting choices overall. Conrad also has the option of Sorcerer's Spyglass on Wasteland to protect his very fragile and purely non-basic mana base. So that's good too. Yeah, I'm going to try to fire up the Twitch chat to see if we can get in on any of this. Let's have a look. Cool. Well, 2 of you watching today. Thank you. I appreciate it. How do I look at the chat? Huh. Oh well. I am not well equipped to do. Oops. As you can tell, this is my first time doing this, and I am a complete putz at this whole activity. This is Manabon. Just puts a whole bunch of his lands into play. So Chris gambled. So he must have gambled for the Wasteland to try and interact with his opponents. Did he? No, he just drew for his turn, right? So he couldn't have drawn. What did he gamble for? So it's very curious. But he's doesn't really. He's not really getting punished for it yet. Conrad has been unable to deploy too much of his hand. I suspect because his second land was a Vesuva copying that clock post. So now he's got Eye of Ugin with no lands, and Chris is Mana Bond. Draws a maze. This is getting a bit problematic for him, I think. Discuss the Walking Ballista, which is fair. This is probably one of the worst cards in this matchup. Doesn't do anything, and just Conrad just not drawing lands. Yeah, I think that one turn where he missed on his opponent's, he missed on his Vesuva. But that's not too bad. He gets to break out with Grim Monolith. The unfortunate problem is that Chris gets to port him in his next upkeep, so he doesn't actually get to fight 4 mana. Oh, so he's playing. Oh, okay. He's got second Grim, so this is going to let him get to Thran Dynamo, and this is actually really good because if Chris goes to port him in his upkeep, he can actually invest that mana from the City of Traders to untap one of the Grims, allowing him to play something huge, something massive the next turn. So Chris is gonna gamble. He's just gonna put in his graveyard. This functionally an entomb. He's gonna put life in the loam as a way to kind of recur his to kind of like interact, right? But I think it's a little bit too little, too late, right? He's gonna get ported. He's gonna use this. It's really interesting though. Conrad opts not to untap because he really wants to play that Sorcerer Spyglass to name Wasteland. I presume is the name with this. But port second port is pretty good. And Chris is in turbo depths mode here, right? He's just looking for depths so that he can, clock Conrad before Conrad gets his defenses up. He's always gonna be a dog to the combo. So he's gonna take Ghost Quarter. That's interesting. Ghost Quarter gets around the name with correctly named Wasteland. But he has the Ghost Quarter, and I can't imagine the deck like Conrad's is playing too many non-basics. Yeah, Ghost Quarter on the Eye of Ugin. Interesting. Yeah, because he thinks he has the port covered. But that's if he had gone for the port on the City of Traders. If he gone for the Ghost Quarter on the City of Traders, then Conrad has no way of untapping those Grims. But as it stands, Conrad still cannot tap those Grims for kind of very delayed. So he's gonna dredge Life in the Loam by cycling his Shelter Ticket. He's gonna. Oh, interesting. Wait, what? I'm confused. He loamed. He didn't? Did he loam? I don't know. Chat if you saw anything. I thought he cycled to dredge back the loam and then he cast the loam, but he didn't return any of the lands in his hand. To his hand. So now I think Conrad has to decide if he can. He should untap that Grim. He did untap that Grim. He drew for his turn. Oh, he's thinking. Yeah, he has to pass and probably wait, right? But with Chris's next draw step, he's gonna be able to assemble Dark Depths. So he's gonna cast Loam. He's gonna return probably the Ghost Quarter and maybe the Cycling Land since he's got so much else going on. Oh, the port's I don't really like the port, but yeah, that's fine. He just mana bond all three into play. Yep. It was interesting. I thought he would just get the Cycling Land, cycle Loam again, get a bunch of lands into play. But this is just, adding, insult to injury at this point. The upside is that Conrad doesn't actually die to one hit. So he can actually let Chris put the oh, that's interesting. He chose to do that and not to play his second Tron Dynamo. That's weird. Because it's actually the same thing. Yeah, but he doesn't die to one hit to the Marit Larch, so maybe there's a way he gets around this. How do you get around this though? He needs to cast Ulamog, right? And Ulamog's 10, so interesting. Yeah. It's a very curious game. But I think Chris can close this out with a Barbarian Ring if he has one, right? Oh, he has Grove and Fire. Does he have Fire? So he's taking this Ghost Quarter. Yeah, he's gonna be able to remake a 2020. So that's not good enough. So yeah, game 1 to Chris Han. Interesting matchup. You'd think that if with Conrad on the play, he had a good shot, but I think Chris's hand was just a lot quicker, and Conrad stumbled a little bit and then got punished by the mana denial from Chris's side, just like we drew it up. So sideboarding, I think you're looking at some amount of graveyard interaction on Conrad's part. I think I like the Spyglasses, I like the Chalices. Yeah, anything that involves you removing creatures isn't great. I don't mind Emrakul, the Promised End. The ley lines stay in for sure. And what's interesting too is considering, right, like what ends up being the common mana cost that your Chalices name, and then taking out cards that in that range. Bridge is good. Bridge is very good against that plan. So you see almost a full set of bridges, and he has helms in there as well because of the ley lines. So this is going to be very interesting, very interesting second game, I think, because the deck almost becomes almost like a prison deck. Right? And traditionally, you know, the forms of prison that involve artifacts are the ones that end up, kind of going over the top of the land stack, because the land stack is kind of tuned to beat creatures-based strategies, right? It's got maze, it's got tabernacle, it's got punishing fire. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not sure what Chris's plans are. I think he might have some amount of tireless tracker on the sideboard, and maybe possibly some croissant grips to interact with his opponent. But by and large, the strategy is still very much the same. I think one of the ways that Chris wins is through getting a tracker and just, because Conrad's boarded so heavily for a land space kind of strategy, he's not expecting those creatures. And just pressure him quickly. The other option, of course, is to go the same route that he did in game one, which is just deny his opponent's mana. So yeah, really, really interesting matchup coming here. And I think that's the beauty of the legacy format. I don't know if any of you feel this way as well. Is that after the banning of Deathrite and a bunch of the other cards like Top and Gitaxian Probe, the format's a lot wider, it's a lot more open. We have another guy here who's playing Arena Rector and and Cabal Therapy, basically a Nick Fit kind of shell. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of innovation going on. There's a bunch of Elves players today. Okay, I got my chat to work because I opened it up on my phone. So yeah, you guys can feel free to join me, to chime in. Let's have a look. Let's see what our friends on Facebook are saying as well. Yeah, Chris, I did not known him for playing this deck, More often than not, he's been the kind of guy who's played like Jund. I think I remember him mostly playing, or some kind of like combo deck. So playing lands is very, very uncharacteristic, I would say. Yeah, very, very, very interesting format right now. I think there's probably only there's 2 copies of Miracles, 2 copies of Death Shadow, and 2 copies of Elves in our metagame, which makes up, a quarter of the players playing. But other than that, I think it's all unique decks. There's like one Dredge deck. There's I've seen a 4-color Leovold. I've seen Sneak and Show. I've seen Storm as well. So Conrad taking a little bit of time to sideboard. A little bit more than he should. It looks like Chris has stepped away for a bit. Oh. Yeah. So still deciding on the last few cuts to trim from his 60 for this second round. Yeah, he got pretty much pretty rolled the first game, so it's pretty bad. I'm not sure I like the combination of I'm not sure I like the combination. I liked the combination of Voltaic Key and Chalice of the Void in the deck, along with the Ratchet Bombs. It just seems like you're overexposed to things that your Chalice is going to be good against anyway. But I think all he needs to do is just draw a bunch of Cloud Posts. I'm not sure if this version plays Candelabra. I think I've seen versions that do play Candelabra, but this for like the blue-green with Primeval Titan type shells, as opposed to this, which is almost purely colorless. I can see how Candle would be decent in this deck, though. Yeah, Chris probably also has access to like Spheres of Resistance in the sideboard, but I'm not sure it's something that he wants to play. And obviously the Trinity Spheres, if he has them in the sideboard, aren't as good against a deck that aims to cast 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 mana cards. So yeah, I mean, for those of you watching, what are you playing in Legacy these days? And how have you found the meta game to be after the banning? He's going back to his deck again, having a look. And yeah, there's a lot of shuffling, a lot of reconsideration, a lot of looking at the same cards again. I'm not sure about the Emrakul. I don't know, yeah. It feels like you could do a lot of damage with your opponent's turn. you get to wasteland a bunch of cards, like wasteland a bunch of your own lands. Interact with your own permanents in a way that you probably couldn't. Right? If there's a tabernacle in play, you can make a Marilarge. Well, if he has a tabernacle in play and he has a Marilarge token, you can sacrifice it to the upkeep. You can you can irrevocably damage your own your own board, and I think it must be better than some cards in Conrad's deck. But cutting stuff like Voltaic Key means that it's harder for you to get to those cards, so I can also see the argument for that. So yeah, players are ready to go. Conrad's going to be on the play. He has Ancient Tomb into Chalice, which is really, really good. He also has Bridge, which is going to help him survive, and he can actually play Ancient Tomb, the Chalice, into City of Traders, into Tran Dynamo, into Bridge, which makes it very, very clean. I'm surprised. I think that's a Walking Ballista or a Sorcerer Spyglass at the far left-hand side of his hand. So we'll see. We'll see what it is. It looks like a Spyglass, which is going to be good against... Is that a Spyglass? It's probably really good against this Mox Diamond. Chalice for 1. He's going to pot his opponent. That's good. He has the Spyglass anyway, so he can actually get out from under this pot by naming Rishadan Port, which is not too bad. But he's gonna opt to play the Cloud Post instead, which is interesting, right? Because now you have a much larger target for Port. So Chris having to slow play because of the Chalice and not being able to dump his hand on the table as usual. But yeah, he's going to be able to lay a second Locust, which is going to give him 3 mana. And presumably he's going to play this Sorcerer Spyglass and name... I don't wonder what he's naming. Is he going to just name Thespian Stage? Yeah, he gets to see, right? So he can name Thespian Stage here and stop himself from losing to the combo. But he does have the Bridge. So it's an interesting choice, right? Like if he names like Rishadan Port here, he gets to full access to his mana. If he names Mox Diamond here, he gets to lock his opponent out of casting Molten Vortex, which could eventually kill him over a long series of turns. But if he names Thespian Stage here, his opponent can't make a 20/20. But he has a 20/20 answer with the Snaring Bridge anyway, so I don't see a real need to go down that line. So definitely some interesting choices, even in a deck that, traditionally people think of it as you put all your cards on the table and then you just make a bunch of mana and then you cast a huge creature. So this is, yeah. I mean, I love the Legacy format right now, right? Because you can play crazy decks like these. You can play decks like Kelvin's that we saw last round where everything is a 1 or 2 mana card. 1 mana card, actually. So yeah, Chris should pick up his hand because, yeah. So he's done. He's going to port his opponent once because he doesn't have a Briston Portal in his graveyard. His opponent's going to be able to cast tap for 4 and cast his Tron Dynamo, I'm guessing. And then Tron Dynamo is going to be able to help him cast Ensnaring Bridge, which is going to get around his problem. Oh, he's going to cast the Helm right away, which is interesting because he doesn't have the ley line yet. And I don't know if he wants to give it away. Yeah, he's just going to cast the Bridge instead. Because Chris has no way of looking at his opponent's hand, right? So Conrad doesn't need to let Chris know that there's the Helm kill. And that gives him a lot more time. Because Chris thinks, okay, I can grind him out. I can find a solution to this Bridge. And then I can kill him. But yeah, Chris already probably has Cosine Grips in his deck. So there's not too much of a concern that, you're blanking any kind of like sideboard cards. Cool. 7 of you watching, how are we doing today? Are you mainly Singaporean? Are you mainly from overseas? What are your favorite Legacy decks? Anything. I'm, here by myself, so I'm getting a bit bored talking to myself. He's going to play the Helm, as unfortunately quite hard for him to cast the ley line that he just drew, unless he draws an Urborg. And with... I can't really see what that Sorcerer Spyglass is on. But it can't be on Rishadan Port, right? And I don't think Conrad would have named Thespian Stage given that he has a Bridge. So it can't be Mox Diamond either. So what is it, like Molten Vortex? It's a 2-word card. It's a 2-word card, so it could be Molten Vortex. Could very easily be Molten Vortex. So he's gonna play Ugin, because of all the things you can tap with Rishadan Port, you can't tap Thorn Dynamo. So this is going to be good. He's going to take 3 to the face. And Ugin also helps clean up all the little like enchantments and stuff. Should Chris get out from under this chalice, 2 lands are gonna get tapped. Currently tapping the clock post so that any additional locus doesn't contribute to more mana. And yeah, I think we're just gonna get bolted over and over again by his Ugin until he puts a bunch of permanents into play. If he does put Leyline into play, then the game is over instantly. But you can't imagine that there are too many permanents that Conrad's gonna hit that he's not happy about putting into play. And he actually chooses the cards, right? So he draws 7, he gains 7 life, and then he puts the 7 permanents into play. Yeah. So you can just put the Leyline into play and then just win from here. Is what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. But the question now is, do you show your opponent Leyline? I mean, yeah, yep, okay. No question there. And Chris scoops it up. Yeah, very interesting. I think this was a showcase of a game that Conrad got to do his thing, right? Last game, he stumbled a little bit and Chris got to do his thing, locking him out. And now Conrad, with the initiative and with a hand that let him slow his opponent down a little bit, he was able to pull ahead. I'm not sure if there are any sideboarding changes to be had, but we will change the score. So, usually you see Sorcerer's Spyglass. You see Pithing Needle in place of Sorcerer's Spyglass because Legacy is so much smaller and much more quick format than other formats that you may have played. But in a deck like Conrad, 1 colorless mana is kind of the same as 2, right? Because there's so many of these like soul lands and lands that make more than 2 mana, in the form of Cloud Post, that artifacts that make more than 2 mana. So he is gonna be able to afford that extra 1 colorless for all the information, and the information was quite key because he knew exactly what he needed to play around and what he could afford to name and not name based on the cards he had in his hand. So that's really, a strong card in the right deck. Yeah. So Chris on the play will be pretty different. I suspect he still has if he did bring in the tireless trackers, he should have them. And I think this will be, if anything, this will be a good game with him on the play, because he gets to get a little bit ahead with either an exploration or at least a gamble to find his engine piece before Conrad puts in the lock pieces. Let me go to my dashboard, because it still says top 8 PPDQ, so we should probably change that. Cool. Alright, so we've done the dashboard stuff. It should say that it is the bugger. Okay, well, so game's on the way. He starts with a Leyline in play, which is gonna cramp a lot of that style with Life and Loam, and he's gonna be able to chain this Grim Olive with the key, or chain it into another Grim, have 6 mana in play. Chris has a Crosan Grip. I'm not sure what you go ahead and grip here, because it's not exactly an easy choice at this point. Let me just change the title. Cool. So nothing on Chris's part. I think he's hoping to unlock whatever it is that he's planning to do at the end of the turn, but bypassing here with an opportunity to Stone Rain his opponent. I mean, I think maybe he could aim for the one of the monoliths when Conrad goes to tap it. That's Chris thinking possibly that he could K-grip that. But he's going to play Thran Dynamo instead. And with the Thran Dynamo, That makes 7 mana, 9 mana. This is going to be Ulamog for 2 of his opponent's permanents. And this is just... yeah. This is great. You thought Modern was bad. You know, this is far worse. But, you know, it's also a format that has Force of Will. Also a format that has a whole bunch of crazy cards that you could be playing to interact with your opponent. I think Conrad's hand outside of this is pretty blank. So if Chris gets around this particular threat, he could have a lot more time. I'm thinking Chris's line is probably involves a string of wastelands, but there's no way you can get around Tyran Dynamo, right? Right, guys? Like, there's no way he's getting out of... there's no way he's gonna tabernacle his opponent out with that amount of mana in play. So what does he have to find? He has to find Caracas to bounce it, but Caracas is no good because Caracas lets his opponent get a whole bunch of like ETB triggers again. So he's going for depths. Oh, he's just gonna go straight turbo on his opponent. That's not bad. Yeah, I like that. Everything is removed from the game. Yeah, he's actually put himself in a position where he can win, because he needs to be able to. He can just string off 2 more lands, or he can draw a Thespian Stage and play his Mana Bond or his Exploration. Giving his opponent life is not great though, because then it means that he can effectively get raised by that Ulamog. Yeah, it's passing. I think he has a second. No, it's K-Grip and Mana Bond in his hand. So he's gonna mill 20 cards, take 12 from the Ulamog. And Chris is hoping to top deck a Thespian Stage here. And what did Conrad draw for his turn? Let's have a look. Oh, 10. Take 10, yeah. This is how much I don't play with these new cards. This is a whole bunch of mana though. So this is going to be 9 mana, 10. He's going to play a second Ulamog and blow up 2 more lands to seal the deal. And I think that's game for our heroic protagonist. Yep. And he's just going through the cards he's exiled to check that it is indeed game. I think he's going to come to the same conclusion as we have very shortly, that this game is over. What does he need to do? He needs to... what can he do? He needs to play Mana Bond. Okay, so he's gonna try and go for it still, right? He's gonna discard his hand, put a Glacial Chasm into play. He is gonna sack that Glacial Chasm. Sack a land of Glacial Chasm. And he can't lose life, but he can get milled out by the... Ulamog. So maybe he's hoping that his opponent thinks that he can't attack. Is what's happening here. What's the Helm combo? Yeah, and that's the game. To Conrad Dungan, playing Eldrazi Cloudpost. He started out his Thought Knot Seers, and it became like a just a huge mana artifact deck. So very fun. Excellent. Like 2 archetypes that we don't see as much of today, but still very strong in today's metagame. So thanks for watching. We're gonna cut to some commercials, and then we'll be back in a couple of 10 minutes or so for round 3. Thanks.
and sit down. Shut up and sit down. sit down. Shut up and sit down. and sit down. Shut up and sit down.